No, you're good. You're good. Okay, so this one might have to be in 2 because there's a lot of verses in this one. But Jacob steals the blessing. Notice that didn't say birthright, did it? It said blessing. Last week, if you remember, Esau sold his birthright for what? Food.
Lentil stew.
Lentil stew. He sold the birthright. Now Jacob's going to steal the blessing. Again, 2 separate things. I'm going to skip that for right now. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. If there was ever a verse for Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, this is it. Trust the Lord that he knows what he's doing. Don't get in his way. He will work it out. You don't have to go with your own plans. Just trust God's plans.
That's for Amy this morning.
And that's hard. That's hard because you think, well, I think I can work this out. I think I can make it happen sooner, like with Abraham. And now we're going to see what happens again when somebody takes what they want and tries to do it outside of God's hands. So there was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went to Abimelech, king of the Philistines, near Gerar. Then the Lord appeared to him and said, do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land which I shall tell you. Dwell in this land, and I will be with you and bless you. For you and your descendants I will give all these lands, and I will perform the oath which I swore to Abraham your father. So this is a continuation of that promise that he made with Abraham. I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of the heavens. Sound familiar? I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed all the nations of the earth shall be blessed. What that is referring to the Messiah. All the nations of the world are going to be blessed because it's going to be through you we are going to get the Messiah who's going to die for the entire world. Because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. So let me pause right there for just a second, because even though Moses is not here on the scene yet, even though God has not written those 10 commandments yet, I want you to pay attention to this verse, because he says Abraham has kept my charge, commandments, statutes, and laws. There was already some form of, I don't want to say like government, but like a theocracy right here, because he was going by what God wanted. All right. God was his king, I guess you could say, his Lord, leading and guiding. So there was already statutes and laws at this time. All right. Now we're going to skip to Genesis 27, 1 through 3. Now it came to pass when Isaac was old and his eyes were so dim that he could not see, that he called Esau, his older son, and said to him, my son. And he answered him, here I am. Does that sound familiar too? Didn't Abraham say the same thing when God called out? And then he said, behold, I am old. I do not know the day of my death. Now therefore, please take your weapons, your quiver and your bow, and go out into the field and hunt game for me. And make me a savory food such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless you before I die. Okay, so now I'm going to pause just for a second, because I wanted to read you a little bit about this. So I'm trying to find it. I know Sorry. I've highlighted so much on this one because it has a lot of good stuff in it. I'm trying to see if I can find it. Okay, he says, like a birthright, the Old Testament blessing of a father was esteemed. A blessing could be given regardless of birthright. So the birthright's already been sold, okay, for the stew. But here, this could be given to anyone, all right? And it's clear right here that Isaac wanted to give it to Esau instead of Jacob.
But wasn't the blessing also supposed to be given to the oldest child? I mean, it could be given, but it was custom to give it to the
Most
oldest?
of the time it was. Yes, it was. And it says here, a father's blessing could be encouragement, details about a son's inheritance, or a prophecy concerning the future. Such blessings acted as a last will and testament, and they were highly prized as a means of revealing God's will. It says Isaac's blessing to Jacob, which was intended for Esau, gave him the earth's bounty and authority over his brother. All right, so just a little bit about the blessing, and now I'm going to jump back. It says, now Rebekah was listening when Isaac spoke to Esau, his son, and Esau went to the field to hunt game and to bring it. So Rebekah spoke to Jacob, her son, saying, indeed, I heard your father speak to Esau, your brother, saying, bring me game and make savory food for me, that I may eat it and bless you in the presence of the Lord before my death. Now, therefore, my son, obey my voice according to what I command you. All right, so here's a division. This is not what God wanted either. God does not want the conniving and the lying and the cheating to get to the point of Jacob getting the blessing. Okay? When they were born, if you remember when we were going over when they were born, the meaning of their names and how Jacob was going to supplant his brother, God already knew that was going to happen, and now they're going to try to force it to happen because she thinks that Esau's going to get the blessing. She wants to make sure that Jacob gets the blessing. That shouldn't have happened either. It says, go now to the flock and bring me from there 2 choice kids of the goats, and I will make a savory food from them for your father, such as he loves. Then you shall take it to your father, and he may eat it, and that he may bless you before his death. Now, one thing I wanted to tell you, let me find it. It says, I didn't get to, it says, Abraham lived 175 years, Isaac 180, Jacob 147, and Joseph 110. You see those ages going down? I wanted to point that out first. And then it says, Isaac was born when Abraham was 100 and Sarah 90. He was 37 when his mother died, 40 when he married, 60 when Jacob and Esau was born, 75 when Abraham died. And then it says possibly 137 when Jacob fled, 157 possibly when Jacob returned, 167 when Joseph was sold and died at 180, the year that Joseph became the ruler of Egypt. I didn't realize that he lived that long. And again, this is one of those things we don't always see, the overlap in the ages. So that's pretty interesting to me. And I find that it's not odd, but I didn't really get this out of it either. That right here he says, I'm an old man and he can't see good and he thinks he's dying, so he wants to go ahead and give that blessing out. But he lives a lot longer. I mean, I want to say it's over 50 more years. It's a lot longer time than what we think of when we're thinking of, I'm thinking he's on his deathbed right here. He's fixing to die, but he does live a much longer life than what we are expecting him at this time. So let me lay that back aside. I just wanted to give you that background. And it says, where did I leave off? Go now. Okay. Do I keep going?
Yeah.
Oh, then I shall take it to you. I'll just pick up here. Take it to your father that he may eat it, that he may bless you before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, look, Esau my brother is a hairy man, and I am a smooth-skinned man. Perhaps my father will feel me, and I shall seem to be a deceiver to him, and shall bring a curse on myself and not a blessing.
That's his name, though.
It is his name. It is his name. But do you get, he knows it's wrong too. He knows that it's wrong from right here. And he was like, hey, you know what? He might curse me. I don't want to have nothing to do with this. All right, this might not be a good idea. Yeah, obey me. What do you do? But his mother said to him, let your curse be on me, my son. Only obey my voice and go get them for me. And he went and got them and brought them to his mother, and his mother made a savory food such as his father loved. Then Rebekah took the choice clothes from the elder son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats on his hands and on the smooth part of his neck. That is a really hairy man. You know, I'm thinking hair-wise, if you put goat's hair on you, that's like a thick pelt there. So he was really hairy. Then she gave the savory food and the bread, which she had prepared, into the hand of her son Jacob. So he went to his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am. Who are you, my son?" And Jacob said to his father, "I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done just as you have told me. Please arise, sit and eat my game, that your soul may bless me." But Isaac said to his son, "How is it that you have found it so quickly, my son?" And he says, "Because the Lord your God brought it to me."
I'm afraid I'd be struck down.
Whew, I know. Isaac said to Jacob, "Please come near, that I may feel you, my son, whether you are really my son Esau or not." So
The voice was different.
he's kind of picking up something might be going on here. So Jacob went near to Isaac his father, and he felt him and said, "The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau." And he did not recognize him, because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands, so he blessed them. Then he said, "Are you really my son Esau?" And he said, "I am." And he said, "Bring it near to me, and I will eat of my son's game, so that my soul may bless you." So he brought it near to him, and he ate, and he brought him wine, and he drank. Then his father Isaac said to him, come near now, and kiss me, my son." And he came near and kissed him, and he smelled the smell of his clothing, and blessed him, and said, "Surely the smell of my son is like the smell of the field which the Lord has blessed. Therefore may God give you of the dew of heaven, of the
sheep or whatever.
of the fatness of the earth, of plenty of grain and wine. Let the people serve you, and the nations bow down to you. Be master over your brethren, and let your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be those who bless you." Does that sound familiar too? Isn't that what God told Abraham as well? Let me pause right there for just a second, because I had something else. Okay, it says this. Isaac's blessing to Jacob, which was intended for Esau, gave him the authority over the earth's bounty and authority over his brother. The end of the blessing, which says, "Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you," Genesis 27:29, is similar to God's promise to Abram in Genesis 12:3. "I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you I will curse." These are powerful promises coming from God. We see an example of this prophecy's fulfillment when the Israelites left Egypt and were traveling to the land of Canaan under Moses' leadership. In Numbers 22, a frightened Balak, king of the Moabites, sent for Balaam, son of Beor, to curse the Israelites so he could drive them out of the land. Numbers 22:6. However, God intervened, and Balaam blessed the Israelites 3 times, causing a frustrated Balak to give up. In this case, God prevented his people from being cursed by their enemies. All right, so I'm going to jump ahead to 27, 30, and 32. Now it happened as soon as Isaac had finished blessing Jacob, and Jacob had scarcely gone out from the presence of Isaac his father, that Esau his brother came in from hunting. He had also made a savory food and brought it to his father, and said to his father, "Let my father arise and eat of his son's game, that your soul may be blessed." And his father Isaac said to him, "Who are you?" "I'm your first." And so he said, "I'm your firstborn son, Esau." Then Isaac trembled exceedingly and said, "Who? Where is the one who hunted the game and brought it to me? I ate all of it before you came, and have blessed him, and indeed he shall be blessed." You notice he didn't doubt that. He didn't doubt that at all. And it says, when Esau heard these words of his father, he cried with an exceedingly great and bitter cry, and said to his father, "Bless me also, O my father." But he said, "Your brother came with deceit, and has taken away your blessing." And Esau said, is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright. Did he take it?
The way he's looking back, he did.
Yeah, the way he's looking back, he did. He's blaming him for it. But Esau sold it. All right, that's just downright facts of it. He sold it. And now look, he has taken away my blessing. And he said, have you not reserved a blessing for me? Then Isaac answered and said to Esau, indeed, I have made him your master, and all his brethren I have given to him as servants. With grain and wine I have sustained him. What shall I do for you now, my son? And Esau said to his father, have you only one blessing, my father? Bless me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Then Isaac his father answered and said to him, behold, your dwelling shall be in the fatness of the earth, and the dew of heaven from above. By your sword you shall live, and you shall serve your brother. And it shall come to pass, when you become restless, that you shall break his yoke from around your neck. So Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then I will kill my brother Jacob. And the words of Esau, her older son, were told to Rebekah. So she sent and called Jacob to her younger son and said to him, surely your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you by intending to kill you. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice, arise, flee to my brother Laban in Haran, and stay with him a few days until your brother's fury turns away, until your brother's anger turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him. Then I will send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved also of both of you in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob takes a wife of these daughters of Heth, like these who are the daughters of the land, what good will my life be for me? I know this is a lot of verses. When Esau was 40 years old, he took wives Judith, and daughter of Beri the Hittite, and Basemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite. And they were a grief of the mind to Isaac and Rebekah. Okay, I'm going to stop. Just because I want to put it in just like plain words for just a little bit. So Esau married 2 Canaanite women when he was 40 years old. Now, these Canaanite women, they're Canaanites. They serve different gods. You know, we're going to go a lot more over the Canaanites and what they believed a little bit later on, but they are ungodly wives. Okay, that's just putting it as a matter of fact.
Well, God told him not to do that.
Yes, he did.
Years past.
And so Esau taking these as wives, they were a grief to Isaac and Rebekah. They're going to be a problem. All right, so it says, although he would end up living 50 more years, in Genesis 27:2, Isaac says he is old and doesn't know when he will die. So it was 50 more years. It appears that the aged Isaac wanted to get his affairs in order before passing, and he wanted to give Esau the blessing reserved for the firstborn, because God had said the older son would serve the younger. Isaac should have been because God said the older son would serve the younger, Isaac should have willingly given the blessing to Jacob, his younger son. By ignoring God's prophecy regarding his sons, Isaac was being disobedient. So he knew when they were in the womb what was going to happen, that the younger one is going to be the ruler of the older one. It says here in our lesson, he should have just willingly give.
At what age do you do that? I mean,
I don't know. I'm thinking of it from a parental perspective.
why did Rebecca seem to think she had to do that? Manipulate to get the blessing
I don't know.
for Jacob. Should he have willingly done that as a child?
Well, if one gets the birthright, do you think like he's laying in bed thinking he's going to die, and he says, well, if Jacob's going to get the birthright, I'm going to give Esau the blessing. You want to be fair as a parent. I don't know. I'm just thinking through it, And it says here, Rebecca, her motives, they might have been honorable because she wanted to see God's prophecy come, to fulfillment, but her methods were not honoring God. She should have never lied. She should have never deceived her husband, got her son involved, or anything like that. And it seems like even Jacob, he didn't object to the lying or deceiving his father. He was just afraid of being cursed. And then Rebecca, she's going to take responsibility for the curse, so why not go through with it? And so he did. When Jacob, he ate the meal, blessed Jacob, naming him the master of the household. He's going to get the most of the inheritance, I guess you would say, in our day and time. He will receive Isaac's wealth, and his descendants would rule over the nations, including the descendants of Esau. Now, near the end, Esau cries out with bitterness and begged for his own blessings. And you know what? He did give him a blessing. It wasn't the same, but it was a blessing. So now Esau, he felt wronged on two accounts. He's done lost the birthright, now the blessing. And he's going to blame Jacob. But in reality, with the birthright, he can blame nobody but himself. He literally sold it for a bowl of stew. Now, the blessing Esau received, it says here, was a tantamount to a curse because Isaac prophesied, that Esau's descendants would live in an infertile and arid area. It's going to be hard. You're going to have a hard life. Rebekah and Jacob's sin ended up with severe consequences too. Esau hated Jacob. That's going to tear your family apart. If she knew that coming into it, do you think she would have done it? Her sons are going to be at war. They're going to hate each other. It's going to be a lot of turmoil and problems. And it says here, Esau hated Jacob and determined to kill him once Isaac died. Rebekah heard of Esau's murderous intent and warned Jacob. Her solution was to send him away. She lost him. Her favorite son, she's losing him because her other son wants to kill him.
Well, she told him, "You do this, and I'll take the consequences if you do this."
And she's getting the consequences. And this is part of the plotting, you know? And you don't always realize when you get in God's way, there's going to be consequences. You have to trust Him to work things out. It says, how might things have gone if she and Jacob had waited on God's timing? Would there have been that contention between Jacob and Esau and that hatred and all of that? Because they wouldn't have had anybody else to blame, would they? It would have been God's will, and you wouldn't have had that. The family would have stayed together. Jacob would have been there with his mama and everything. It says here, one question arises from the Genesis 27 account of Jacob's deception is whether or not God condoned the sin. Because he had given that prophecy before. Did he condone what happened just to turn it all about so it was the way that he wanted it to be? And the straight answer is no. God would never condone sin to bring about his will. He can accomplish his will on his own. He can. So there's no reason to lie, steal, cheat, or anything like that. This is in spite of Jacob's deceit, in spite of Rebekah's conniving and planning. God was never going to condone sin. He would have brought it about in a different way. So Rebekah lost her favorite son because Jacob was forced to flee or face revenge at the hands of his brother. It says Christian people today may be tempted to fall into the same trap, excusing sin that is committed for a good purpose. That happens. That happens a lot. Well, I'll lie just this one time because it's a good purpose. There's never really a good purpose for sin. All right, but it says here, sin is still sin, and God never wants his children to sin, no matter how honorable the purpose may seem. Often we just need to prayerfully bring the situation to God and patiently wait for him to act in his perfect timing. That's hard to do. Abraham failed. Right here, we see Jacob and Rebekah. They failed. It's everybody's failing. And here's the thing I want you to get from this. Do we fail? We do. These accounts are in God's word to teach us. You think when you're reading through this, well, they should have learned. They should have learned from the mess that Abraham had. Let God work it out. But do we? We're reading this account thousands of years later. Does God change? No. We still think we can interject ourselves and we can maneuver this way or we can maneuver this way and everything will work out like we want. But sometimes, does God close the door for His will and way? And it takes us out of our comfort zone, and we don't want that. But is it for the greater good of His will in the end? Most of the time it is. It's all for His will. It says here, Jacob had already bought the birthright from Esau. It was now necessary to get his father to validate the transfer. This he accomplished by deception. In evaluating the moral quality of Jacob's act, a number of things need to be considered. His mother put him up to it. He earnestly desired the birthright, channel of God's promise of blessing to the whole world. He probably could have attained, it says he probably could have attained it no other way. I'm giving you, this is somebody else's opinion. So you have one saying, yes, there was another way. You have this one saying he probably couldn't have attained it another way. I don't agree with this one. And this is where when you're studying, you're reading behind people and you read something like that, it's like a red flag. No. God would never say, yes, go ahead and lie for you to get this birthright. It's not going to happen. Okay, so this is clearly wrong on this one. It says Esau cared for nothing. I don't agree with that either. Esau did care. It might have been at a shallower level. He clearly cared for his father. He loved the hunting. He loved bringing him and stuff like that, bringing him food and cooking for him and things like that. I feel like they had a different relationship, you know. But the thing was, the birthright, he was just kind of flippant about it. He was willing to sell it. Did he consider the prophecies of God before? Just something to think about. It says here that Jacob paid dearly for his fraud. I agree with that. God Himself made the choice before the boys were born. Okay, here's my thing on that. God does not choose this one over this one. They each had a choice in this too. God knows the outcome. You know, because He's outside of time and He's looking in. He knows the outcome. So it's either that or He was going to bring about His will in a different way. That's why they're named what they're named. So the whole moral of the story is let God have His will and His way. You know, if Jacob had never deceived, it would have been a totally different ballgame. Totally different family, I'm going to say. You wouldn't have had all that contention. And God would have, He would have worked it out His will and His way. All right, y'all got any questions? Comments? We're going to be going into Joseph. Joseph's interesting. I have archaeological proof on Joseph. Yeah, it's neat.